Our next speaker has the best name ever, Mark Stark. He sounds like a superhero because he is in real life. He's CEO of Americana Holdings, the largest independently owned Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices franchise in its global network. And last year, his company did $5.2 billion in residential sales volume. What else is he up to? He's also currently working on a suit made of iron that can fly. Oh, interesting. Please welcome Mark Stark.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. First of all, let me thank Jeff for the opportunity to be here today. Here's what I'd like to do. I want to share a very personal experience with everybody. And my goal today is to have you look into how we all see the world. So specifically, how you see your world around you. Because my message today is, I promise you that the way you see your world will determine your path and or your success moving forward. Now, I thought the best way to get this across to you was share with you a story that has many lessons in it, many tips that I learned through the process. And anytime you're actually going through something, you tend to really hold on to it. I believe there's two ways to learn, repetition and emotional involvement. And this one, I certainly was emotionally involved. So for you to understand, I need to take you back a little bit. Let me take you back to 2001. And in 2001, wasn't happy with where we were in the industry, and really wasn't happy where the company was positioned. And instead of going to the leadership team, we got groups of sales executives together to talk to them and try and figure out, you know what, in a perfect world, what do you want? The only rule was you actually had to be producing. So from lower producers all the way up to top producers, what's your feedback? And long story short, what came out of that was we transformed, our company, which was a straight traditional company at that time, to a business service company. And what that ultimately meant is we started helping agents build brokerages under the umbrella of our company, the same model that we run today. That catapulted our growth. All right, it was really before anyone thought about teams, we had this brokerage within a brokerage model. So from 2001 to 2004, company has dramatic growth. I was in charge of running the company. So in 2004, almost at the height of the market, I decide that I'm a 25% shareholder at the time. I'm going to buy the other 75% of the company, okay? Because my goal is always to buy high and sell low. So if you have a big bowl of money and you want it to be a little bowl, I'm your man. Okay. So in October of 2004, I close on the company and I own now 100% of the organization. Well, go about 2 years forward, okay, and in late 06, let me back up for a second. How I put that transaction together is I got a senior lender. I had some connections with Wall Street, and I got these guys together, and I had a senior lender and a mezzanine lender. Easy way to understand this, if you haven't dealt with that, is a senior lender is your first, that has a little lower interest rate. Your mezzanine is your second, who has a little bit more aggressive rate, but has less protections. So in 2006, really late in 2006, I get a call from my senior lender. I'm sitting in my office. And the senior lender says, hey, Mark, we're not trying to be a jerk off about this. I cleaned that up a little bit. He says, however, we see the Las Vegas market, we were only operating in Las Vegas at that time, we see the Las Vegas market adjusting very dramatically, and per our intercreditor agreement with the mezzanine lender, we are choosing to block your mezzanine lender. I said, okay, what does that mean? He says, well, here's what it means. You continue paying us our payments as normal, okay? And from this point forward, you are no longer allowed to make any more payments to your mezzanine lender. Just hold the cash in the company. I said, okay, do they know about this? We sent them a letter. They should know, or they're going to know very soon. I hang up the phone. Now, before I go forward, years back, I learned this concept that says it's all about event-based thinking. To never label things good or bad. They're just an event. Like if interest rates went to 20%, we wouldn't choose that, okay? However, there would be brokers and agents who win in that environment, and that there would be brokers and agents who don't win in that environment. So this speaker was going over, he says, what you need to focus on is always being, okay, in the area you want, in that example, to win. But don't label things good or bad. Okay. Well, right now, I'm going to be really direct. This was a bad day. This was not a good day. Okay. So I hang up the phone with the senior lender. I immediately get on the phone with my mezzanine lender. And I say, how's the family? No, I don't say that. Okay. I said, all right, you're going to get a letter. We already got it. I said, okay. Well, what does this mean on your side? He says, well, Mark, we're now an equity lender. I said, okay, give me more. He goes, well, also, per our agreement with you in the documents, if we get blocked by your senior lender, what we're allowed to do is raise our interest rate to 19%, and that is effective immediately. Now, just to give you some context around this, their loan was $12.5 million. Okay. So I said, so let me get this straight. I'm not allowed to make you any payments, okay? You're going to charge me 19%. I'm going to be paying interest on interest on interest. You're going to own my company in 3 years. I mean, it's craziness. He goes, sorry, that's the way that it works. Okay, well, I hang up the phone, and I'm saying, well, this is not going to be the way that it works. Now, I've been a member of a group called Vistage. It used to be called Tech. And what it is, it's a group of CEOs from different industries, and you get together every month, and you basically cover issues from personal issues to business issues, and you basically help each other get better. But it's tough. You don't worry about the other person's feelings. You're not mean. We call it being carefrontational, meaning you own your feelings, how you take something, but I'm going to be caring and loving, but I'm going to tell it like I see it. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, and I'm going to tell you like I see it. So I am now, this is certainly one of the issues that I'm bringing up at my Vistage group. In one of the meetings, I'm going over, because at that time we were Prudential, and I'm working with Prudential on putting together some financing, and I'm like going, you know what, guys, I'm working on this, and I'm trying to be I'm being an optimist that this is going to all work itself out. And all these people looked at me and they said, wow, I can't believe you. They go, Mark, this is not one of your win-win scenarios with your sales executives, okay? Okay, you are dealing with sharks here, and they want to take over your company, okay? And you need to grow up really quick, okay, or you're going to lose your company. Because right now, you're talking like you're blind without a cane. And I'm like, wow. I remember leaving that meeting and going, I know they care, I know they love me, I know they're trying to help, but they just don't get it. This is a negotiation. They're trying to work me. They understand the situation. They're trying to work me for the dollars. But I just don't think they're evil from that standpoint. Okay. There is a concept that I learned a while back called limiting beliefs. Now, every single human being, if you have beliefs, you have limiting beliefs. And the scary thing about beliefs is they're very, very powerful. And certain beliefs, by definition, can limit us moving forward. Like, for example, if I actually believed, not maybe, not kind of, but I actually believed I could get on top of this hotel, jump off, land on my feet, and walk away, there's no reason not to do it. I'm positive I'll be okay. Well, think about that. When we have beliefs in our lives, personally and professionally, we are making decisions every single day on those beliefs when we move forward. And it's happening constantly. So when I walked out of this meeting, and I believe they didn't get it, guess who really didn't get it? You can say it. Yes. I'm unoffendable. Don't worry about it. Okay. So I didn't get it because I really didn't understand the situation. So let me bring up about 7 months later, after working with the help of Prudential, we put together $18 million over 7.5 years, no more silly interest, 7.5 years, which got the mezzanine lender 100% of their principal and about a 9.75% overall return. Not the return that they wanted, but ultimately in one of the largest downturns ever, okay, in the history of the country, I thought that was pretty good. I'm standing in front of Black Mountain Grill, which is a restaurant not far from my home in Las Vegas. I call Steve, which is my main connection with the mezzanine firm. And I go, Steve, great news. I've put together, with the help of Prudential, $18 million over 7.5 years. You get all your money back. You get some return. He goes, first of all, no. That's number one. He says, number two, Mark, you don't seem to understand that anything we do for you at this point is a favor. We already own your company. You owe us this. Your company's worth this today. We own it. It's not my opinion. It's math. And I'm standing there and I'm like going, okay. I said, you know what, Steve? I got to tell you something. I really appreciate what you're telling me here because over the last 7 months, I'm the only moron thinking that I'm actually going to work this out and figure this situation out. Okay, hang up the phone. I immediately call. The next 3 calls are my attorney, Prudential, and some Vistage buddies saying, you know what, you were all right. I was wrong. They want the company, and we're going to have to fight them in court. Now, I'm leaving the Black Mountain Grill. I am physically and mentally not in a good place. Very emotional, and I'm driving home, and I know my wife is home, and I get to the house. She can see that I'm totally distraught, and I said, babe, I got to tell you something. I'm not going to work this out. These guys are going to come at us, they said, with all barrels. They said, you know what, we're even going to come after you personally. I said, I didn't even have a personal guarantee. They don't care. They're going to come after us personally, and they're saying, you will lose everything. Here's the first thing my wife says. She goes, hey, Mark, if we lose everything, would you be willing to relocate? There's so many great places that we could go. And I'm like, okay, before we go down the lose everything road, she says to me, she goes, look, these people cannot take away your relationship with your family. They cannot take away the relationship that you have with your friends. And they certainly can't take away your work ethic. So do what you do, okay? Go out there and figure it out. And she says to me, this was classic, she says, you know what you always tell me, Mark? It'll work itself out or it'll work itself out. Don't you hate it when you give someone something, they use it back at you? It's the worst. I'm like going, yeah, now you bring that up. Okay. And first of all, that took a ton of bricks off my back to be able to go out and really now fight the good fight. We did have to do a reorganization and fight them in court. 180 days from the phone call from Black Mountain Grill, that $18 million that I offered them, I got to write them a check for $900,000, and they were out of my life forever. Lesson there, was greed is a terrible thing. However, keep in mind, they manage billions and billions of dollars. I was not even close to a decimal point for these guys. Other lesson there is you don't always know someone else's agenda. Just because an agenda for a client or someone you're dealing with doesn't make sense to you, okay, that doesn't mean they're not going to go down that direction. Remember, they're coming from their own thought process. That was a big lesson because truthfully, even today, the only aspect that I can come up with is they wanted to teach me a lesson because of all the other investments that they had. That's the only thing I can come up with. I still don't know exactly why they weren't willing to take those dollars, right? The way that I saw the world since that day has changed everything. That experience is part of me. From that day, now I end up moving forward out of that scenario in late 07, beginning of 08, right? If you remember, that was still a challenging time within the market. But guess what? We were loaded for bear. We started doing now from the worst challenge that I've ever seen for me in business ends up being the number one upside that I've ever had in business. We start doing acquisitions in the Las Vegas marketplace, numerous ones. We end up buying the Prudential Company in Arizona and open up for the first time in a separate marketplace. It laid the groundwork for us to open up in the California marketplace. It changed the whole dynamic of the company. Couple other key lessons in here. So when we were just starting the case, the attorney said, hey, Mark, I don't want you mentioning anything to your people or anyone until we file this reorganization. I said, let me ask you a question. Is that a law or is that a recommendation? He says, no, it's a recommendation. I said, let me tell you this. You run your company, okay, I'll run mine. I go, we are not doing anything without all the sales executives knowing it. So we have a meeting with 900 sales executives. And I take them through exactly what's happening and what our plan of attack is. The amount of support was overwhelming what we got. Guys, key. People can deal with bad news. You know what they're terrible with? No news or lies. Just be honest. People can deal with, give them the respect that they can step up and support you. Second thing we did, we left that meeting and we go immediately to the newspapers. And we go, hey, listen, we got a story for you, okay? You can break it. Here's what's going on. And the guy who's writing the story, John, goes, you know, I got to tell you, to get stories like this, we have to really chase you guys down and find out you kind of ignore us and this and that and the other. This is amazing. So I'm giving him everything. When I read the article, you know, we all worry about what's in, you know, what are they going to see in the paper? Are they going to say the truth? Is it going to be factual? When I'm reading this article, it was like listening to my voice. It was almost verbatim. Every single thing I told him was written in the article. Could not have been more realistic, more actual to all the events going on. The lesson I learned there is, look, all of us go through challenges and situations that we would not choose. Those events that you don't want to label good or bad, they're events, and we've got to look at what outcome or outcomes sometimes that we want this to go. And we have to focus on that. And what stops us sometimes is fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of what someone's going to say. You'll appreciate this. I'm at dinner. This is during the case. I'm at dinner. I have two daughters, two teenage daughters, and my wife, and we're at dinner. And the table to the right of us is talking about the case, and they said, yeah, that Prudential Company in the market has already gone out of business. And I'm sitting there with my two girls and my wife, and I go, wow, I don't know who's ever running that Prudential Company. Loser. And you know what? And we just start laughing. Guys, we cannot run our lives, okay, based on what someone else is thinking or saying. We will never win that. You know, the rumor mill is one of the most powerful things in the world. I don't get it. It can be wrong 99.99% of the time, and guess what? It doesn't slow down. Doesn't slow down. Just goes on to the next rumor mill. All right? Having that strength and that ability. I didn't miss a Vistage meeting. I always showed up at the Vistage meetings. One of the commitments, because I said the other thing I felt during the case, I go, you know, Mark, these guys do not own your relationship with your family, right? So my clue was when the garage doors would open, different attitude. I don't care how stressful, I don't care how much unknown, whatever was going on, my cue was the garage doors are opening. Mark, all this is about is high fives, how's your day going, give me hugs, give me kisses, all that stuff. I think my wife would tell you today, that stint, I was the best husband ever. I've kind of slipped back from there, but you know, whatever. Okay. There are so many lessons that I took from that are now going to be part of me for truly ever. And not only on the professional aspect, all right, but also from a personal aspect. And my goal for you today is just know this, how you see the world and how you make decisions and what you believe matters. And come from that with love, with conviction, and know this, that when you feel you believe something, the best thing you can do is continually question what you believe. Not because you may not be all right, but when you question it, you never stop thinking. And you always continue to gather quality intel. And guess what? You make some tweaks to what you believe to even make it better. But be careful with limiting beliefs, because again, if you have beliefs, you have limiting beliefs. So again, in conclusion, my goal for you today is to be able to see the world that takes you down a path of happiness and success. I really appreciate everyone's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. That's great. It'll work itself out or it'll work itself out. That's my takeaway. If you're ready.